This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self-doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full-time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Marcella Mollon-Williams from the Legacy Builder Group. She is the co-founder. Hey Marcella, how are you?
I am doing well, Felicia. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So you guys, when you see the promo and if you hear the voice, you may recognize Marcella from an interview I did during the summer. From the table, we had a short time to be able to talk about what it meant to have a seat at the table, how she could influence people. And she broke it down, y'all, because she was talking to us about the how things work in our brain and the thoughts and how what comes first. And y'all need to go back. That's on my YouTube page if you haven't listened to it on here. It's definitely on the YouTube page. But she, even in that little bit of time, she broke it down. So when we get into this conversation, oh, y'all know we getting into all of it. So Marcella, hey girl, hey.
Hey,
So
glad
can
to
you
be back.
oh yes, and can you introduce yourself to the people and just tell us how you got started?
Sure. Hello, people. It's so great to be back on here. Again, my name is Marcella Mollon-Williams. I am the co-founder of Legacy Builder Group. I am also a behavioral financial advisor and a certified mindset and flexibility coach. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. I got some questions.
Yes. People are like, finance flexibility. Okay, it connects. And how I got started, I think it always, for me, started with a drive to, one, learn, just to grow and learn and discover for myself what I needed to know around finances.
Okay.
I grew up in a family business. I was telling people I've never worked outside of family in my life.
Really?
Really, I've never worked for anyone outside of family. And I've been, I've had my own business since I was in my 20s. And that's just very natural for me. I worked for my family sign company, and then my brother and I decided to really go into finance. He was already great with money, and I wanted to know more. And at the heart of it, it was about creating a legacy for me, creating a legacy for my family. So I always say I got into the financial business for selfish reasons because I needed to know more.
No, that's right.
To grow. And in doing so, I knew I'd be able to help others. And so as the journey continued, I learned, I developed different skills. I kind of really, because, the financial industry could be really large. There's so many components to it.
Yes.
You can get lost in it. And I had to it was a journey to find where I actually fit. what worked for me. Because when I was a kid, I loved psychology. I loved, I'm a good listener. I just like analyzing people. And I went into finance, which I liked, but it was only over the course of the last few years that there was an aspect of coaching people in finance that I discovered. And then it was like, God, there's more. And then suddenly I find this designation of behavioral financial advisor, which most people in my industry don't even know that's a FINRA designation that they can get. People never heard of it. But when I saw it, and then I took the course and went through the process and studied it, it was like I was home. That feeling of this is what was bridging my love for psychology, neuroscience, and traditional finance. And to become this, to find myself in this place. And so now I'm in a place where I can really help people develop their mindset around money, along with the traditional things that we help them do, which is the financial planning and investing and all of that. But that means nothing if we constantly are self-sabotaging ourselves.
Come, listen. Okay.
Nothing.
So, at the end of last year, 2022, we ended out kind of and one of the series that I did was Slaying Our Finances. And we literally talked about, we talked about our finances for a whole month, and the amount of people who afterwards were just kind of like, I didn't want to listen to it because I knew mentally I wasn't ready to deal with what it was that was really holding me back, whether it was about earning money, saving money, spending money, giving money. Like, we really broke it down to talk about like, how self-doubt showed up in it, how your relationship with money. And so when a lot of times people think that it's just about the currency, right? It is the behavior of it. Like, what is your relationship with it? How do you feel about it? Do you love it to the point that you respect it, right? It's so many different things that most people don't even think about it to that level. It's kind of like, oh, it's just there, right? Like, we just use it. It's just a tool, whatever have you. But for some people, no, understanding their relationship with money can change the legacy for their families, so
100%.
I when you said it, I definitely knew what the merge was. Yes, exactly. So as being in family business, doing this, but also saying to yourself that like you knew that what you wanted and what you were doing were kind of like two different things. How did you get to that place? Because a lot of times people just we know we're doing things because we are good at it. We have the skill, we have the ability to be able to do it, and we do it well, but we don't do it with the same energy that we do when we're doing something, when we're walking in purpose, right? And so talk about that difference when you were like, okay, I'm doing this, it works, but something is not adding up in this financial.
Yes. I mean, no, that is so important because here I am in business. And whether it's a financial business or you're selling cakes, it doesn't, being in business, it could be challenging financially.
Correct. Yes.
And, getting the right clients and all of these things. And I just noticed that I wasn't, we weren't where I knew we were capable of being. The business wasn't growing the way it was. And I took some time back from my family to work with some projects my daughter was doing and to be there for her. But when I came back, it was like, okay, something has to change.
Yeah.
And I think that shifted my mindset, knowing that not settling anymore gave me an opening for God to move.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to get to a point where you're okay, enough's enough.
Yes.
You just keep going until you get to that point.
Right.
So I got to that point and it opened up that opportunity. And what I realized, there are so many discoveries, Felicia. Let me tell you something. When between 2019 and today, it's just like God was doing so much and so much was happening. And it started even before the pandemic. Like I said, it started 2019. And that's when the shift really happened, in which, and this is where the flexibility part ties in, because I needed to shift my mindset,
Mm.
but I needed a physical challenge to change
Mm.
my mental, to challenge me mentally.
Yeah.
And sometimes with us, that's what's needed. You know, we go through these these tangible experiences to change the
Yes.
intangible.
Yes. Yes.
And God will allow us to do that.
I always call it your sit down moments, right? When the Lord
Yes.
sits you down and you be like, you could have sent a memo, a text message. Like you didn't have
Look,
to physically make me be in one spot where I had nothing else to do but be like, well, you got me now. You got my attention. What's up? You know?
right, exactly. But you are 100% right. And you know, and I always tell people, don't wait for him to make a like sit yourself down.
Do not let him
Don't let
sit you
him have
down.
to
You're gonna
sit
be
you down.
mad.
Look, my philosophy in life has always been learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah,
And to
yeah.
learn from other people. So in 2019, I sat myself down because I was sensing there was something, just listening and following. There's something that the Spirit's trying to instill in
Get you
me
to
here,
do.
get
Yeah,
me to
yeah,
do. I was like, oh, what? Okay, what is this? Let's get it
yeah,
going.
yeah.
And on September 28, 2019, which was my 45th birthday, I just decided I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I wasn't going through any major health challenges, but it was enough. It was enough.
Yeah.
I was dealing with constant migraines and chronic fatigue.
Mm.
And I was like, this is not how I want to live the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember on that birthday, I had a migraine. So I could barely enjoy it.
Wow.
And that's when I started first to change my diet.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt a specific challenge come to me. And that was to do a split, a full split.
Like a split on the ground split?
Not the front, but the side split on the ground.
Oh, you mean like out?
Out.
Oh,
out.
gosh. Oh, that made me.
I've never been able to do that. I tell everyone I am not naturally flexible. It's just I took the little test. They gave the instructions said if you could put your leg sideways on a chair, then you could probably do a split. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I went through this journey. I thought I could get it done. That was September. I thought I could get it done by summer. I was like, oh, by summer, I'll be able to do a split and I'll be cute. And it took 21 months to get it done. And what I learned through that experience blew my mind. It just, the discipline, the desire, the decisions to reach your destination.
Yeah.
It just all bottled up into this beautiful experience that completely transformed me. I am not the person I was when I started 2019.
Yeah.
The way I think, the way I behave. And that opened up opportunities for me to see things and connect with God in a different way and to experience the growth in my business that I needed.
What I think is interesting is that the word flexibility, right? Is that like you have to like it literally is what we have to be, no matter, like just living. It doesn't have anything to do with being in business, like in your marriage, in your parenting, in your job, in your relationships, in whatever you have to be. I literally just told my son a couple of weeks ago, the only thing that's constant is change, right? Yes. Things are not going to be the way you want it to be all the time. I used to tell my staff that, like, well, why can't blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, I can guarantee you that something's going to change tomorrow. I can guarantee you that. What it's going to be, I don't know, but you have to be flexible. So for you to have a physical, like you said, representation of what it means to be flexible and also to be able to say, how many things do we say, no, I can't do that because we're uncomfortable, because we've never seen it done before, because no, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Like you said, I wasn't a flexible person. We put these limitations on ourselves and then we're never able to see like what could be because we already said we can't. And that, see, child,
girl, girl, like, I mean, and you're right, because, you know, I had to push past pain. It was excruciatingly painful at times. And I learned that I can push past pain in ways to allow me to reach the next level.
Yeah.
And in life, this is what, again, the comfort zone, this is what we're afraid to do.
Absolutely.
We're afraid of the discomfort of the pain, certain decision. We think certain decisions are going to cost us or cost others in order for our growth. And we're not willing to step up to that challenge.
No, not at all. No, because we're worried about what it's going to feel like if we were even to try, even though it may not even be as uncomfortable as we think. I'm telling y'all right now, I don't know who this word is for, but we is preaching today. Okay. I want you to know, go ahead and rewind, and you might have to go listen to it again, but we are preaching today. Okay. So I don't know what's coming, y'all, but don't turn this off. Do not turn this off. But yes, like when we think about, we hear all the time is that your freedom is on the other side of your discomfort, right? Your freedom is on the other side of your pain. You got to go through the storm. It's things that we choose not to go through because we say, I don't even want to feel what's going to be like. You don't want to feel the in between, but not even thinking about what will happen once I get to the other side? Because you will get to the other side. It's not going to look the way you want it to look. You may lose some things, but you also may gain some things. And I think sometimes in this self-doubt journey, we are struggling with what we're willing to let go of and what we want to hold on to. And that's it's a huge thing. So as you were going through this journey, how has self-doubt shown up in it?
Oh my goodness. The conversations you have to have with yourself when you're going through something physical like this. Again, I learned a lot about what I can and can't do. And so, for instance, during the time, like I said, I gave myself a goal in which I thought I could accomplish this. But when that time was getting close, we as people, we tend to, any situation where we have a deadline or we want something accomplished by a certain time, we attach ourselves to that outcome. And then when the outcome doesn't happen, we're ready to give up.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm going through this process. And when the time was coming near and I realized, well, I still got some distance from the ground to go. Like,
nope, I'm still up here.
This ain't happening. Like, I'm still up here. Exactly. That self-doubt definitely wants to kick in. I had to continue to layer on the lessons.
Wow.
You have to layer up the lessons that you learn. We're constantly learning things day by day. And if we miss it, we don't build enough layers to reach the next level.
Yeah.
I would say one of the greatest weapons the enemies has that uses on us is our short-term memory.
That is so true. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak on it.
Because if you can just get us to forget the last amazing thing we just did, or the last way God came through for us, or what we were able to accomplish, then the next thing that happens, we'll be like, I can't do it because you didn't think of what you did already. In this consistent journey that I had, it was, 21 months, I had to layer. I couldn't forget. Could not afford to forget. When the self-doubt came in at times, it was just like, oh, I have such a long way to go. But I would say by month 10, I had conditioned myself to that if was no longer a question.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, oh, this split's going to happen. I don't care how long. At this point, I don't even care how long it takes. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just, what is it going to take for it to happen? So, that's why I love, even the name of this podcast, Slaying Self-Doubt. Because I think it's slaying dragons.
Yes.
Slaying, it is a
action.
Struggle. It is a work in action. It is an effort, and it takes courage. It takes strength. It takes skill, and it takes the skills and knowledge to be able to wield that sword, that weapon that you're using. And all of that is needed. All of that was needed for me to slay that self-doubt, which trickled its way into all the areas that I need. I always talk about 4 pillars: finance, fitness, family, and faith. And I cover these 4 pillars. A couple of people discovered, really developed their legacy pillars. And that physical challenge for me built the foundation for me to be like, okay, now Marcy, now you are the person I can use for this next level.
Okay, so now, because I told y'all earlier, so now even with you saying that, I know exactly what you mean, right? When you are going through this thing where you're going like, so let me back up. You said you got to be able to have the power, you have to be able to have to slay whatever that thing is, right? It's going to show up differently for everybody, yes. Which is the reason why we're all given different challenges, which is the reason why our struggle doesn't look like someone else's struggle, which is the reason why when you are like, well, how is she able to? And that's how the enemy uses comparison, because it's not your thing, right? Whatever it is that you and specifically a lot of times whatever it is that you're struggling in is the thing that God wants to use. But because you don't see it and you don't know how this is going to work, you minimize it. Like, I don't even know. That's how the self-doubt works. So you can just kind of push it to the side. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, but that right there is your testimony. That right there is your purpose. That right there is the thing that is going to deliver you and other people. Right. And so that was the first thing, like knowing like your strength is going to be different for the battle you are going to have to fight. And then also, once you get through it, knowing that God can then use you, right? Because we say, use me, Lord, until He's ready to use us. And then we be like,
right.
Not like that. I don't want to be used like that, Lola. No, that's fine. Give me that one instead, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that.
Which is where the self-doubt comes in. Because you said, no, I don't want this. Like, why are you giving me this? Like, I can't do this, right? But that's because we can't do it in our strength. We have to do it in His strength. And so then when we're only looking at ourselves like, oh no, you can't be calling me to do this because you should already know I cannot do this. And He's like, no, you're right, but I can.
Yes.
And so it's like, that's why I was like, I told y'all we was preaching over here. We are preaching over here today. Yes. So when you were ready to be used, what did that look like?
Man, the world opened. You know, the world opened. I remember going 2020. Oh yeah, so I went through this journey, and that's when I had already been doing some like my partner and I and our company had been working with a company to develop more coaching our clients. Not just being financial advisors, but really helping them with the coaching part. It was during the time of this journey that the behavioral financial advice was opened up to me. And I saw, and it was really wild for me was the way I tackled that course. I had developed the discipline during the physical challenge.
Right.
I was not a very disciplined person before. Trust me, my husband can tell you. Okay. And he's the most disciplined person I know. And because he's so great at things, at sticking to things, military mindset.
Yeah.
And I struggle to stick it with anything. So anyone who's like, oh, I can't do it physically, trying to work out and do all those type of things.
Yes.
Trust me. I had tried over and over and over again. I could not do it before. But I developed discipline in this process. A discipline that I never had before, and a discipline that I never thought I was capable of.
Yeah.
And because of that, I again, going into this study, and I had already I was consuming neuroscience and financial behavior, behavior economic books like crazy, even before I went into this course.
Yeah.
Just because I felt the calling to study and to learn. And I always want to study in my area of in my professional area. It's important for you to always be a forever student. Is what I call myself, a forever student. I was consuming this information. And then when I went into this program, so much of what I had already been learning was already in there. And my work ethic I just noticed. It was like, wow, I got through this course in half the time
Mm.
that, and it's not because I rushed through it, because you had to take a
Right.
major exam, which you had to get like an 80% or higher
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get the designation. So, but I had already been
Mm.
open to growth. Like, it's like, okay, my mind was now open because my
Mm-hmm.
body was open physically, maybe
Yeah.
because of flexibility. My body was open,
Uh-huh.
and now my mind became open. And the desire to learn and grow moved me professionally, and then attracting the kind of people I need into my life, becoming clear on what I wanted
Yeah.
and what I did not want. Because I had learned through this process again, I really learned about decisions, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned about discipline. Those are the biggest factors that came out of this. Decisions was huge because I was indecisive. So I'm telling everyone, I was indecisive and I was
Mm-hmm.
undisciplined.
Mm.
These are two things that I would have. And I want to be clear on something here, because I always talk about values and how important knowing your values are. What I realized this process is that we will always struggle to stick to things that we don't see value in. Your mind has to attach value to every goal you want in order to make it worthy of pursuing. So you may find yourself struggling to be disciplined in the area, and then other areas you're like,
oh yeah, you on it. You like
it.
you are on it. Like you
Right.
show up early. Like it's tomorrow. Oh well, I'm
Right.
here. I'm gonna just wait.
Here,
You know.
let's just get this done.
Right.
Right. And that's all of us. But
Yeah.
if you really look at it and analyze it, sit down for a moment, think, well, why am I able to stick to this? And why am I not able to stick to that? And so often it comes down to, where do you see the value in it?
Yeah. That is so, when you said that, I was like literally thinking like of different things. And a lot of times as women, we tend to, that's why your kids come first. That's why your family comes first. That's why we come last, right? Well, we put ourselves on the back burner and we be like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll figure it out. But they have to. Someone else needs to. All of these things have to be done before we. But then we're in this season of now, like you got to say, you got to take care of yourself first, right? But
Yes.
even if we say that we really do value our health and we value our self-care and we value our growth and all those things, what are we actually doing to show that we really do? We'll tend to say we're going to do something and then be like, oh, I'll do it later. But let your kid have something and you be like, oh, I can't do this. I can't, I'm not moving. Let you get ready to, something like you said, something that you have placed a value on, you would be like, no, I have no choice. I have to go to this thing. So that's really,
it's
really important.
It is. I mean,
yes.
I always tell people, I use this example. If you look in your trash can, I have my trash can next to my desk here, and everything in that trash can once had value. Whether it's the wrapper that held the granola bar I was eating earlier, it provided safety for my granola bar so I can consume it. It once had value. And we do the same things to the whatever it is we are desiring, whatever we start and then we throw out because it lost. We started because I see the value in it, and then through time it starts losing its value, and then we just toss it. Next thing you know, it's found its way into our behavioral trash can.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to pay attention to. If we want to shift our behavior, start with understanding your values. And that's one thing. And that's why with our in my business, and again, it's a holistic coaching and investment firm. The first thing we do with our clients is do a values assessment. I help them identify their 5 core values, and we hold them accountable for it through the entire planning process.
Yeah.
So we can remind them.
That is so good. No, it really is, because I was even it's very minor in this situation, but my husband and I watch a show, and he's always like, you lose interest really fast, and I'm like, no, it's not that. Like I love TV. Like TV is my jam, but it's like certain things. If it gets to a certain point, and I'll be like, it's not as good as I will move on. But then there's something else that I may be like, oh my gosh, I found this new series. And he was like, now you're going to watch 14 episodes in one day, but I'm just trying to get you to finish
Right.
one season.
Like
right. And I'll be like, yes, but because you, like you said, it's like, it has all the things that I love in it. And so now I'm engaged. Right. But the other thing just kind of like, I was. And then this isn't,
not there anymore.
It loses it, right?
And
so then the thrill is gone. So then when we think about the things that we need to do for ourselves, and specifically, that was a minor, example, but I'm thinking like our health, right? Mm-hmm. How many times we start and stop, and when we're in the new year now, and people are gung ho about getting healthy and doing all the things right, and then by the end of the year, we're like, well, I need to get back into that. I'm gonna start, and so we just stop and start and stop and start. And what you just said is that, do you value it? And tell the truth. I think that's the other part. You have to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
It's all based on what you value. If you do not value it, then don't pretend for me. Don't pretend for somebody else. Be honest with yourself so that where, because whatever you are pretending to do, maybe what you really do value, you need to be putting your interest and your efforts into that, which is the reason why this ain't going nowhere. You just don't finish the season, okay? Just you don't want to watch it anymore.
Exactly. It's over.
Watch something else. So, what have you learned on your journey that you didn't know before? Did you hear that ad at the beginning of the show? If you're a business owner looking to expand your reach, you can promote your company or product with a host-read pre-roll or mid-roll ad by me on the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. If you want more information, email info@FeliciaWallace.com. That's info@FeliciaWallace.com. Now, back to the show.
I learned the real meaning behind I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like,
that's real.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we hear it and we say things, but I learned that, and I learned what faith really was. Like, and I'm a lover of Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I'm like, oh, I feel like, faith is a muscle. You got to use it and all that stuff. But when you have to really put it
into practice,
and in the ways he'll show you, like, it'll just blow your mind. How it can show up and what it looks like and what it feels like. Yeah. How freeing faith is. How freeing it is. How freeing it is to eliminate doubt, self-doubt included. I discovered so much about myself, and again, discovering what freedom really, how important freedom was to me. Discovering that value for myself and seeing how it shows up in my life, from finances to fitness to family to faith itself, and watching as I have to have, and when I talk about faith, it's like, your belief system. Like the whole, it's a system. In which it operates. I think sometimes we look at faith, it's so flat. Like it's just flat. Yep. And there's so much depth and dimension into it. It's a whole system for it to work. And it's needed in every area, from how you manage, operate your finances. To, getting those workouts done. So I learned that I can trust myself. I could trust myself. Because I had to learn, why was I so indecisive? Why did I struggle with discipline? I was indecisive because through the years, I felt devalued in various ways. I grew up with a Caribbean family. They made all the decisions for me. And whenever I try to make decisions for myself,
no, you ain't doing that.
Exactly. So I learned over time that the value was just diminished. My ability to do that. And when I share that in certain messages with people, that always seems to resonate. Like, people, I think that happens with most of us. And just being a minority in America. We're constantly, that's a part of the process. It's evaluation. Evaluated. So learning to really come into grips with that
Mm-hmm.
and changing their narrative in my head, that self-doubt, like that's
Yeah.
a part of the skills he had to learn to slay that. I had to learn to slay
Yeah.
that was changing the narrative and to be able to make a definitive decision
Mm-hmm.
and like that's the way it is,
Yeah.
and feeling free in that.
Man, I love that because when you started out and you was talking about the freedom, and immediately my brain was thinking, okay, we're gonna go into the pillars, and we're gonna talk about the business, and then when you said, you learn how to trust yourself, you saw me sit back in my
Yes.
chair because I was like, you know, a lot of self doubt, and this slaying self-doubt journey has everything to do with the fact that you don't trust yourself. Like literally, that's really
Everything.
what it boils down to, right? Because if
Yes.
you did trust that you know what you know, nothing and no one could steer you off, not even yourself. You couldn't steer yourself off that path like that. Doubt starts as a question, like, can I? It doesn't say you can't. It's just, can I?
Yes.
It's not is that what you were supposed to do? I remember sometime last year, I remember hearing a sermon when someone asked, like, what was the first question that the enemy asked? What was the first question in the Bible that the devil asked or whatever? And people like, huh? And they were like, he asked Eve, did God really say that? And I said, no, what
exactly.
hold on, wait a minute. Let me. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
so the very first time he showed up was to put doubt in a woman's head.
Yes.
And
That is,
and and and
look,
look at where we are right now. Look at where, and this
same place.
literally, he didn't say that. He said, did he really say that? Which made you start to think like, well, what did he say? Well, technically, because then that's what we start to do. We start to change the words up in our head, which makes us not trust what we already know to be true, right? And so when you said that, it is that's a hard thing to actually to even admit that you don't trust yourself, right? Because then it makes you feel like, well, then am I untrustworthy? Like, is that do I have an integrity issue? And it's like, no, that's not what it is. It's like you not trusting your abilities. Is you not trusting that God purposed you for whatever it is that he, like, when he called you, he called you. When he assigned you, he assigned you. And you need all of these asterisks in order to say, like, yes, this is what I'm able to do. But that has also to do with the test that we give, right? So what you were saying as you were going through your 21 months, that was God's track record of showing you, okay, no, like you said, keep it at the forefront of your mind, because the enemy will have you have short-term memory loss where you forget, like, oh, I did just do this. Oh, wait a minute. Right. Did this, then that.
Hold on. You said, look, you said some stuff there. I have to touch on, because it was so good what you just talked about. That doubt. So, okay, the doubt part. One of the things, that's why I talk about decisions, all the decisions and discipline, particularly because one of the things that will continue to feed into our doubt is constantly lying to ourselves, or constantly changing our minds and not sticking to what we say we're going to do for ourselves. Every time we give up, or we step back, or we don't stick to our word to ourselves, we make a decision and then we go the other direction. Every time we stop, we are planting seeds of doubt, because that is saying, oh, look, you can't be trusted to do this. You can't. Those are all the things that are feeding. That's why it is so important to learn these areas. And then the other thing that, as you talked about, that first thing that the enemy said, as far as speaking doubt into, oh, he did not really say that. Let me tell you something. This is why what you're talking about is so important, Felicia, because my husband said this the other day. I was like, boy, I know this is coming up soon. And it sure is. He said, the enemy constantly uses, the enemy receives residual income through us. Residual income, once he has us, he gets it in our mind that we can't do something, or we're locked in, and therefore our habit is automatic. He don't even have to bother with us anymore. It's like residual income. It just keeps coming. And he
Mm.
counts on that residual income
Every single time.
every single time.
Every single time.
That's why we have this doubt, what we're constantly telling, the behavior that we've
Mm-hmm.
created and the pattern that is locked into our brain. And this is why, like I said, I'm fascinated with neuroscience, because it's what's actually locking into our brain. The neurons are wrapped around it and is creating neural pathways that's causing us to behave a certain way. And that self-doubt, that self-talk, and the behavior all will cause us to create habits. We don't even realize we're doing it.
Yep. Like, how did I get here?
How did I get here?
It's like being in the Matrix. You like, how did I even get here? You don't know, but like you said, it's already in you, right? It's already and he uses the same thing over and over again. There's nothing new. If you actually took the time to think about what it is that he uses to get you to stop moving forward, it is the same thing.
He has not changed anything since the garden.
Not at all.
Between that and lack, because he got them to think, to desire the one tree they couldn't have when they were surrounded with abundance.
Surrounded by abundance.
Made them think that, lack. You can't have that one tree.
Yeah.
Now we're still running around here acting like we don't have, that we're not children of a king. Like we don't have access to abundance.
I'm about to throw my shoe. I told y'all this was, man. I oversee. I knew when you sat at that table next to me, I was like, when we get on this show, she is going to. Yes, and we are going. Yes, this is. Oh man. So okay. So let's talk about Legacy Builder Group, and I want to talk about I want you to break down the pillars: finance, fitness, family, and faith, because I think that so many times we focus on just one thing, right? And I love the fact that you said this is a holistic practice, right? It's a holistic thing, because we're not just one thing. Like there's so many things that encompass us, and a lot of times we get so focused on one particular thing that it just other stuff it isn't allowed to grow. When you can water each one a little bit at a time in different ways. It doesn't have to be like, okay, I only can focus on money, nothing else matters, this is the only thing, or it's fitness, I gotta stay this, that, and the third, and then other things fall by the wayside. Like God wants us to be plentiful in all the things, right? And so let's talk about what those are, what it is that your company does, and let's get into it.
No problem. The 4 pillars. I like to look at it as a healthy way to not make an idol out of one area of your life.
Yeah.
We could so quickly turn anything from our family to the food we eat to an idol and make it a whole part of our identity.
Yeah.
So I think there's a balance, and through my experience and through my studies, I just noticed that there's just a balance between these 4 areas that if we can work one by one, we can really develop a healthier whole person.
Yeah.
So I talk about finance, and when I say finance, I'm talking about money behavior. We're talking about our behavior around money. We're talking about fitness. I'm talking about physical and mental health. When I say family, I'm talking about interdependent relationships. Those relationships that we are tied to, that connect with us, and how that can impact us. And like I said earlier, faith is our belief system, which is so powerful. And when I went through this journey, and I share with people about starting where it works for you, I do believe that faith, starting with your belief system, is how it's actually is where it's going to work for you. Like you have to work on your mind. And for me, my belief system starts with the foundation of the Word of God. And really, we're all this, as I shared about my journey, all of this, I think the real change was a direction in which I was led to this group, a Bible study group, and we started reading the Bible in a year for the year. And since that time, I think this is the 7th year that I've read through the Bible chronologically. And so that, again, that started the discipline.
And
And so that came, and it also opened up my mind to, once you start reading it over and over again, it's like, at first it's confused, like the Matrix. It's like, okay, all
Right.
I see is squiggly
What?
lines. What? Okay, it starts to make sense. But then things start becoming clear as you really study and communicate. And so my relationship with God, things really started elevating at that point. So it started with my belief system. And again, like I said, faith, believing that I truly, and what that actually looks, what that actually feels like. So I was able to transition to faith, to fitness, because of my, because I started with some discipline. So I had built, remember I talked about the layer stacking. I had enough discipline to work even harder, to build even more discipline in this area, and enough mindset work and faith to like, okay, I can do this. And so God was able to use the fitness pillar to really expand things for me, that trickled into my family. Wow. Like my fitness experience transformed my marriage.
Wow.
Transformed my marriage. My husband and I, we were great, married 25 years, but marriage is marriage. Marriage is marriage. And there were some challenges, and there were things that is just like, oh, I just need him to change. Like this, like, Lord, I was just making plans. So I was like, I ain't getting out of this marriage, but I'm gonna need some.
You're gonna have to do something.
Some solo trips or something when I get old, because there's gonna be some issue. But what I saw was that when I started working on me, when I put that work into me, my husband saw and followed suit. Like our relationship, I'm like, I am blown away by the way we could communicate, by how he can express the love me the way I needed to be loved, and love like it's just because he saw the effort, like he just recognized a change in me, and it made him want to be a better man.
And let me just pause right here to say that it's the illusion of control that we have, that we think that someone else has to do something when the real work is us. And when you see it happen and you recognize that we literally are we're the thermostat, the temperature gauge in our households, right? If your energy is off, everybody is off. So focusing on you don't even realize how it shifts all the relationships, because there's certain things that just be like, she ain't, you ain't got to say nothing, but it's like, I don't know where that person went. Like they just disappeared, right? And then the peak, like it just draws. It's your light. Like at the end of the day, it's your light. But I know, like starting with God, knowing who your source is, and then going up from that allows you to be able to be clear about what it is that you believe, what you're going to do for yourself, your values, those things, and the people connected to you, they either get on the train or get off.
There you go. There you go.
That was my tidbit right there. But okay, go ahead.
That was good. I mean, you nailed it. And then I'll touch on the financial pillar, because I know that's really important for people. But it's all these things that are needed for us to accomplish where we want to be. Where we want to be financially.
Yes.
Like we're thinking. I mean, we all know the stories of people who win the lottery and they're losing. There's a reason for that. They weren't ready. We're so often not ready for the financial blessing we're asking God for. It's levels to this.
It is levels to this. It's like character building, right? Yes. Like, are you really ready? Which is the reason why sometimes when people are like, I don't understand fear of success. It's like, if you got everything that you were asking for, would you be able to maintain it? Would you be able to maintain your values, your integrity, your all of those things? Or would you change? That's the biggest thing, because those people who can't handle it, they end up being somebody else. And or actually, just what people say, like, money doesn't change a person. It only amplifies who they really are. Well, then that means you need to get yourself together before you get some money, right?
Look, I know you're absolutely right. And here I am in finance. And I didn't realize that I was dealing with money traumas from my background. I say out the blue, but I know it was God.
Yeah, always.
A money coach presented herself, and it's even how that happened was just like, but I know I was not trying to be in the same place. I was not going to be in the same place a year from now. You know, you say it's like, okay,
yeah,
a year from now, I will not be in the same place
yeah,
mentally. And once I made that decision and I wrote it down, what I needed, I wanted someone, like I said, opportunity presents himself. And I hired this person as a money coach because I'm like, nope, I want to constantly have a coach in my life. If I'm going to be a coach for everyone else, I will have a coach in my life for the rest of my life. A coach needs a coach.
Yep.
So I hired this money coach and learned that I had trauma. Like I was dealing with just things from my childhood, things that my parents went through, just a number of things. I didn't even realize a certain fear I had of money. I had experienced so much greed. And I've seen things that people, I watch behavior in families.
Yeah.
I've watched some atrocious behavior. And because of my love for people and my genuine desire to help others, I did not realize I was subconsciously repelling and fearing money because I was afraid that I would become this bad person.
Wow.
Like so many other people in my industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I had to do some work to get rid of all that. But like you said, to be real, be honest with myself. And to realize that, wait a minute, okay, make some decisions, stick to it, and become comfortable with money itself.
Yeah.
And when I did that, transformed all this work, started elevating my business and attracting the kind of clients I wanted to attract. And I was able to, put price tags that I wanted to put on.
No, listen, I had a therapist on a few years ago that said, if you want the peace that surpasses all understanding, you have to be willing to tell the truth. And when you tell the truth, you have to tell the truth about your mother, your father, your relationships, your spouse, you have to be able to, and that is difficult. So this goes back to what we were saying earlier about trusting ourselves. Sometimes it's not about us. It's about the things that are connected to us and the fear that we may have of developing other people's habits and things that we've seen that it just says, okay, if I don't deal with it, then it won't be me, right? But really, no decision is a decision, right? That's that. And so you said in the beginning you were indecisive. No, you were still making a decision. You were making a decision not to do anything, right? Exactly. And so I've seen this thing last year, and I've said it quite a few times. It's like when you know better, you do better. We have a problem in the doing.
Yes,
it's the doing better. We all know better, but are you willing to do?
Yes, exactly. Sure. And we have to be able to, because how we do one thing is how we do anything. And so that's why you have to do better. You have to actually do and understand. And that's why I talk about these pillars. You see the trickle effect.
Yeah.
It's how your behavior, how you operate and doing is going to impact every area of your life.
Yeah.
Why we have to be honest and conscious of our behavior. As the average adult human makes 35,000 decisions a day. We don't think like what?
That's not women, right? Because we definitely make way more than that.
There's the average,
okay. They must not be talking about us.
But we make all these decisions, but we don't realize many of them there's automatic, like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth. We just know we're doing these things.
Yeah. Seatbelts, turning on a signal. Like when you think about stuff that's just involuntary, like you said, like you just know, wow, that's so crazy.
It's fascinating.
Very
until you don't have that ability. There was a man in one of my, in the book I call The Brain, and he actually got damaged. The part of his brain that makes those decisions was damaged. And he's the only person on the planet with this condition that was able to actually walk, because he had learned to tell his body to put one foot in front of the other. He had to
Wow.
make that decision. He has to constantly like command his body to do
Body to
things.
move. Wow.
And the effort is very hard, which is why other people with this condition are bedridden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't do that. So I was fascinated with him. And just the fact that why this is important is because what we don't want
Mhm.
any of these unconscious decisions
Mhm.
to be decisions that are impacting us negatively.
Mhm.
Like, it's fine that I don't have to think about whether I'm gonna brush my teeth or not. I just gotta go do it.
Right. Yeah.
But it's another thing when we're behaving in ways where we're telling ourselves things or telling others things that are causing harm to our relationships, that are causing harm to our finances, that are causing harm to us physically and spiritually. And we don't even realize we're doing it because it's on autopilot. It is just stuck right there in the
every
basal
single
ganglia.
day. Yeah, we just out here, man. Yo,
no, it's probably time.
Listen, no, I'm over here like the Lord be knowing every single time. I know people always say, you say that every time you know, he knows exactly who we need to talk to, when we need to talk to them, when is like this is yep. That's all I got.
I love it.
Yep. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. How can people connect with you? How can they connect with what you're doing? If they want to get coaching from you, if they want to work with you to be able to work on those pillars and just really make the decision to make a change, to do better, to really do better.
Yes. So I'll just make it easier. You can contact me directly at marcellamwilliams.com. And there you can find all the information about Legacy Builder Group and then what I do physically, because I do teach. I am, again, a certified flexibility coach. I took it to another level.
Let's go.
And now I have a program, a mindset and body program called Flexibility Freedom, where I take people through a 12-week program to stretch them physically and mentally.
Okay, then. Yes.
And so all of that you can find at marcellamwilliams.com. I am all over social media. I love to connect with people on Instagram and Facebook. I just love building online communities. So you can find me on those two platforms, but I am everywhere. I'm on Twitter. I am on LinkedIn. Also just look for Marcella M. Williams. And
yes. Well, y'all already know the information will be in the show notes so y'all can follow her. Marcella, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the word. Okay. Cause you was preaching today, sis. Thank you so much. Listen, we were co-preaching today. Yes. Okay. We definitely was giving it our all. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Felicia.
Oh, you are so welcome. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.